and then you flip the switch. All right, let's get going. So in today's video, we are going to be talking about triads, specifically triads for metal or neoclassical metal, heavy metal, whatever you want to call it. But we're going to be applying some of Bach's awesome triads from one of his preludes in D minor. And we're kind of going to be analyzing it, figuring out why it's really awesome with his voice leading and his harmony and stuff. And then from there, we are going to transcribe it, or rather use it in more of a metal context. So that way you can get a lot more ideas with how to write your own riffs, how to write better chord progressions, and things like that, because Bach is a wizard at this. So let's get started. So talking about Bach, all you really need to know is he is the master of voice leading or figured bass. Okay, so he knows how to go from one chord to the next chord to the next chord really smoothly, to a point where you don't even notice a huge drastic jump or things like that. So he sounds really, really smooth, really, really slick. And we're going to see if we can sort of take that and move it into more of a metal setting. So this is basically part one of a 3 to 4 part series that I'm going to be doing of how to use triads to make better metal music. And pretty much how Bach lays a lot of his stuff out is through smooth voice leading with inversions, which is about this video. Other things would be like counterpoint, which will be the next video. Then we'll talk about the fugue, and then we'll talk about some other stuff with secondary dominance and modulation a little bit later on. The prerequisite is the circle of fifths, and then you need to know how to build triads. So if you don't know the circle of fifths, I have a really good video on the very basics of the circle of fifths. So I talk about everything of how to figure everything out with the keys, the key signatures, all that really good stuff. So definitely go and check out that video. It's linked in the description below. All a triad is a root, a third, and a fifth. And in a key, given 7 notes, you can create 7 different triads, right? If you're following the basic diatonic function, okay? So obviously, you don't necessarily always have to follow those rules, but that's just a general sort of rule of thumb going forward with the thing that I have behind me. All right, so this Bach prelude normally is in the key of C minor, so 3 flats in the key signature, but in this case, we're going to be moving it over to D minor because, one, it's a little bit easier to understand, and it's also a little bit easier to play on guitar. So let's take a look at some of these chords and figure out what we're doing diatonically. If you feel like you're struggling with music theory, technique, shredding, all that good stuff, and you want to be a really awesome guitar player, you should try out my free masterclass. Click on the link below in the description. It'll take you right to my masterclass, which is an hour-long video of everything you need to know to start becoming a better, really awesome lead guitar player. At the end of the masterclass, it'll also offer you a completely free one-on-one consultation, just me and you, so we can see if the masterclass is a good fit for you. If you feel like you're more of someone who works better by themselves, I do have a music theory course and some music theory ebooks. I'll put those links in the description below so that way you can check those out. Back to the video. Pretty much what we have to figure out here are what are these chords and why do they sound so smooth and slick. So being in the key of D minor, okay, we have 1 flat in the key signature, B flat, okay? So relative key to F major, correct? So right here, our 3 notes are D, F, and A, right? So all we got to do right here is put a lowercase 1, okay? Then from there, we have a D, a G, and a B flat, okay? So this is what? It's a inverted 4 chord. So instead of doing D, G, B flat, you could move this D up to here, an octave up, and it creates a G minor chord, right? So all you'd have to label this as is a lowercase 4, right? And then in order to label the inversion, all you have to do is write 6/4. Basically how an inversion works in terms of those numbers, the 6 is a 6 from the bottom to the top, and the 4 is the bottom to the middle. Okay, so D to G. Okay, so the next chord has a C sharp in there, which is the leading tone of D minor. So that should tell you harmonic minor is going to be used here, right? So pretty much all you'd have to do with this is C sharp, E, and G, which creates what? A diminished triad, right? Because if it was just C, E, G, it would be major, but when you raise the root, it actually becomes diminished, okay? Or you could just think of it like you are in the key of D minor and C sharp is the raised leading tone. Build a triad off that, creates diminished because the 7 is diminished if you are in minor harmonic, right? So all you got to do is write a 7 lowercase and then put a circle there to indicate that it's diminished, okay? Basically what's going on here is we're going to use this chord for the next 4, but we're going to change the bass note is pretty much what Bach did, okay? So this is another common thing that Bach did. So pretty much how that works is you're going to end up playing a D minor chord right here, okay? And you're going to be having an A in the bass, kind of, but initially with that triad, the A is in the bass. But for the purpose of this demonstration, we're going to be looking at bass clef down here, okay? So if you're not a bass clef reader, this starts with G and not E, okay? So it's almost like it's up a third, but also down an octave, right? So this is a D, works perfectly fine. Same chord, then you're going to have a D over C, right? Then same chord, but you're going to have a D over B flat. And then same chord, but you're going to have a D over A. So this is a very, very easy concept that you can use, right? Bach is using the same chord, but in the bass, he's moving things down to indicate new chord extensions or brand new chords entirely, right? So pretty much what this means is we have a G sharp, a B natural, a D, and an F, okay? So this is basically, you like my little piano down there? So that is a diminished chord in the key of A minor. How did I figure that out? Well, look at it. It is a perfectly fine stacked 7th chord, right? I know it's diminished because G sharp to B is a minor third. B to D is a minor third, then D to F is a minor third. So it's obviously a diminished 7th chord because they're all stacked minor thirds. The only thing that is going to help you out with this as an extra is that order is so easy, and G sharp is in the bass, which is a half step away from A. And to put the cherry on top, look at the next chord. The next chord is an A minor 9 chord. So basically what we have here is a G sharp diminished chord that resolves to A minor 9. So this is actually a secondary diminished chord, not a secondary dominant chord, so pardon me on that. But that pretty much means that it is a diminished 7 of 5. And that's a lowercase 5. And then it's going to end with a minor 5 chord right here with an added 9th on there, okay? So secondary diminished, secondary dominant, they're literally the exact same thing, okay? Except you're just using a diminished chord instead of a dominant chord as your tension to move to a new key or temporarily tonicize a new chord. So what is it about the voice leading that Bach does that makes this so cool? Well, check this out. If you were to use very simple triads right here in root position, it would sound extremely blocky, okay? I'll play it for you right here. Using common tones and inversions is what's giving you that really nice transition from one chord to the other. So if we look at some of these common tones, it's very, very easy to identify these two right here, right? These two right here, okay? And when there are no common tones to use, you can at least move very close by each other without any huge leaps, okay? The best voice to do big leaps is the bass. Outside of that, the soprano or the highest voice. Those two are the best to do, okay? You want to usually keep those middle ones in a nice spot, okay? The only actual common tone would be this B, right? Here to here, okay? Everything else, though, is pretty dang standard. So that's why these ones, they move really close by each other. These move down by half steps, which is the bass, which is totally fine to go from here and end up all the way over there. That's totally fine. Even looking over here from the secondary diminished chord, or the secondary leading tone chord as some people call it. So that's pretty much what Bach is doing. He's going from one chord to the other in a very smooth way. And he's not limiting himself to using root position. He's doing all sorts of inversions and all sorts of really cool stuff, even using secondary diminished chords to get to new keys or new temporary tonicization. The way the triads look on the guitar are relatively simple. So I have the sheet music up there. I'll put a link in the description if you want to just look at the music yourself. And I'll also show it to you if you don't really read very much. So essentially all you really have to do is know what triad inversions look like on the guitar, and then you'll be pretty much good to go, especially minor triads. So one of the easiest minor triads that I always show to my students is this little bad boy right here, which is D minor in root position, which would be 7-6-5 from the G string all the way down. Utilizing the common tone of D, we're going to switch out our middle finger and end up making this little bad boy, this would be the second inversion, G minor chord. Then from there, we'd end up doing a little slide here, which there are a couple ways that you can end up doing this chord. This is one way. 6-5-3 from the G string down. Or you can basically go to the 11 and do on the D string 11-9-8. But it's probably preferred that you do the way over here, because then you're doing the actual finger style stuff. You'd have to use that low D on the 10th fret of the low E string, which might be a little bit tricky, but can be done. You're going to have to go all the way to the first fret anyway for the regular D minor cowboy chord. And then you're going to start utilizing your bass notes like C, then B flat, which basically actually turns into kind of like a B flat major chord actually. I believe it's just use the A. Then you're going to go to this diminished chord for G sharp. This chord basically just involves using your ring finger as the bass of the low G sharp, then your pinky for the B on the 4th fret of the G string, then use the middle finger for the note D, 3rd fret of the B string, and then the F of the high E 1st fret goes right with the index finger. It sounds really nice. I would recommend muting the A string with your ring finger. That's going to make things sound a lot better. But that is essentially how you do it the Bach way. If you want to do it the non-Bach way, like I did it earlier, all I did was a D minor bar chord, went up from the 5th fret to the 4 chord, which is the 10th fret, so G minor. Then from there, all I did was do a diminished shape on the 7th fret, which technically I probably should have done the C sharp, but they're the same chord. Then I would go to D minor again. Then I do the C over D. I'm sorry, D minor over C. Then B flat, then A. Okay, so it's really easy to do inversions on the guitar. I think from there, I went to the G sharp way, which is this shape, just moved over here. Or you could have gone up here, right? Same chords, just different spots with the octaves. And then I went to the A minor 9, which I could have done this, right? So I'm one of those YouTubers who forgot to film an outro, but here I am. So I really appreciate you guys watching this video. Just in general, a huge thank you for watching all of my other videos. These are topics that I'm very passionate about, so I appreciate you having that passion as well. So please give me a subscribe, and then I'll see you guys in the next video.